January has gained a reputation as divorce month because of the number of filings at this time of year. Divorce strategist Rebecca Zung's book, Breaking Free, is a guidebook for anybody facing divorce and how they can move forward mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Please welcome Rebecca Zung. How are you?
Great, thank you.
So January, I guess people see the uptick because it's after the holidays?
Yeah. January is known as divorce month. In fact, in the biz, I was a divorce attorney for 20 years. We actually brace ourselves for January because of the number of filings. And the reason why is because people want to wait to get through the holidays. They don't want to be the bad guy and file for divorce or serve people with divorce papers right before Christmas or whatever. Another reason is they get maybe Christmas or holiday bonuses, so they now have the money to be able to hire a divorce attorney.
Move out or whatever it is.
Yeah, and sometimes it's tax filing status because they get one more year of married filing joint, and New Year's resolutions.
Interesting. So it can be pretty shocking if one party is not expecting this and another party files papers, and you've seen it all, right, through
Absolutely.
20 years of this. So you have some tips on trying to sort of get through that shock and the anger and denial, and you say build a support team. What do you mean by that?
Well, what I call the divorce paradox is that at the worst, most traumatic time of your life, death and divorce are always at the top of every list. You have to be thinking the most clearly that you've ever thought, because you have to make decisions about the things that are most important to you, your money, your children, your home, that sort of thing. So it's so critical that you have a support team. And of course, the first thing they can do is go to my website at yourdivorcesurvivalguide.com, yourdivorcesurvivalguide.com, and get my free divorce survival guide. It has lots of tips in there, ways to deal with the fear, and ways to deal with the mistakes that people make, and making sure you avoid those top mistakes. But definitely getting that support team in place, because you're going to need it. You're going to need it to be able to think clearly.
To organize your thoughts. You say never meet with your ex alone. Tell me why.
So one of the jokes I make is that my next book is going to be called My Wife is Crazy, My Husband is Controlling, because that's what they all say, all the clients when they come in. But all kidding aside, a lot of times men do like to control and the situation, and so they want to get the wife's attorney out of the way, because that attorney is what's holding them back from getting what they want in their minds. And so they say, let's just meet at Starbucks. We don't need attorneys. We can do this. And so he'll get the wife to agree to something, and then, and this really goes for both sides, because what happens is if you agree to something and then you go back to your lawyer and your lawyer says, oh no, that's not what's fair under the law, and then you go, oh no, I changed my mind. Well, now it backfired. Now they're more annoyed, more mad, and it actually makes it worse to try to negotiate down the road.
Okay. You say have access to a stash of cash with your name on it.
Right, especially if you're the non-moneyed spouse. And the reason why is because if you're the non-moneyed spouse, meaning you're not the one who either controls the finances or earns them, then you're going to want to be able to have money to be able to retain a lawyer. And also if somebody cuts off credit cards or you don't have your name on any of the accounts and suddenly you now no longer have access to anything, you're going to be in a world of hurt, because it takes time for your lawyer to file a motion, get a hearing, get it set for hearing, go to the hearing, you get the
judge. Oh my God, this is giving me anxiety just to hear about it.
Yeah.
You also say, and this is very interesting, don't move out unless you never plan to go back.
Yeah, I always tell my clients that don't go back unless you plan, don't leave the house unless you plan to never go back. And the reason why is because it's much harder to get back into the house at that time. If the only way you could really be barred from your home is, assuming both names are on the home and it's your marital home, is if you have a court order, whether it's an injunction for domestic violence or a civil court order of exclusive occupancy. But if you leave and you're now living somewhere else and you change your mind and you want to come back, even if you just said, no, I just decided to stay at my mother's for a month or whatever, if if the other side goes to the judge and says, I want a court order, she's living somewhere else, or vice versa, the judge is probably going to say, you know what, you guys are getting divorced anyway. Just
do it. Okay, so
Yeah.
you have to think about that. We have a very interesting take on social media. We have this outlet now where, you can be angry or hurt and say something that lives on forever.
Yeah, so the first thing I always tell people is make sure that anything you write is something you would want the judge to see, because anything you write, any text message, any piece of social media is a potential trial exhibit. So if you want the judge to read it, no problem. But if you don't, if it's not something you would want the judge to see, don't write it. Do not put it in writing.
That's probably good advice for so many things. And what do you want people to understand about divorce today, perhaps as being differentiated from, our parents' divorces when we were kids, if we lived through that?
Yeah, well, the statistics are pretty staggering, and it's more than 50% of first marriages, 67% of second marriages, and 73% of third marriages. So it's so many of us. There's not one person watching this program or sitting here in this studio who hasn't been affected by divorce in some way, not one. And yet it is still so stigmatized. It's commensurate with failure. And instead, what I want the message to be is that it can mean opportunity. It can mean an opportunity to have a better life, to create a life that you want. There's no power in being in a dysfunctional relationship.
Starting anew. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Breaking Free is available online and in stores now, and we'll also link you to Rebecca's website for more help, including the guide she mentioned. When Wellness Wednesday continues, a new rule changing how people can identify their sex on birth certificates. We'll tell you about that intriguing change after this.